When Roles Reverse, a guide to parenting your parents. And I was just thinking, when I was reading this last night and again this morning, Jim Comer, that I think that we should be lucky if our parents all live long enough that we then have the added responsibilities of taking care of them.
Absolutely. I'm blessed in that. My mother is now 96.
Wow.
She doesn't know me, but she likes me, whoever I am.
Well, but I mean, isn't that something?
It is. It is. That spirit in her is still there. And she still has a few phrases. One of them is, I love you, thank goodness.
I see, and there are some folks who say, oh, I wouldn't want my parent, I wouldn't want me to lack lucidity. I wouldn't want to not know the family. And yet to hear I love you from your mom, listen, that's a special gift that they might trade anything for.
Right. She also says, yes, ma'am, to men and women. And when she says, yes, ma'am, to me, I say, Mama, how you doing?
When did she begin the downturn?
She has, I've been so lucky. It's been 18 years. She's had early Alzheimer's, started in about 91, and she's gone an inch at a time, unlike some who go down in a couple of years. My aunt was an example. Mother has gone an inch at a time, and really, she only lost sentences in the last year. So I've been lucky.
My family and I was just telling you during a break how lucky we have been, because my father-in-law was 90 before he passed away last year. A tremendously healthy guy, played golf, loved to travel the world with his wife. His wife, my mother-in-law, 88, she's watching right now saying, please do not give my home phone out. I'm not ready for counseling. She is just so sharp. She's so quick. Has some physical problems, as we all would at 88. But you know, I don't know the answer to this, and you do. When is it time? When do you know it's time to take over most of the responsibilities?
Well, that varies completely with the parent. My father was 90, and he had paid his bills every month. That was very important to him. 1 month, he sent his rent check for the retirement home to the newspaper. And that was when they told me that, and I said to my father, would you like me to pay your bills? And he could not have been more ready. He was, you know, finally, he was happy to do that. But what I want to talk about is the fact that we've got 150 million Americans, or half the country, that is either baby boomers or their parents. And most of them are not ready for what's coming.
How do we prepare ourselves?
Well, you prepare yourselves by having the conversation. I call it the conversation. It's that talk where you really bring out all the difficult things that most adult children and many parents don't want to talk about. The first question, and I've got 50 questions in here that will save you time, money, and tears. And these are questions that everybody needs to answer. There's room to write the answers in the book. But the thing is, most people don't want to have the conversation. They're afraid that their parents will get their feelings hurt, they'll cry, they'll yell. And I say, it's okay. Have that conversation no matter what happens. You need the information. I didn't have it. I was living in California, writing speeches for a CEO. I'm an only child. My parents were in Dallas, where we had no relatives. My father had a stroke while taking care of my mother, who had Alzheimer's. I get the phone call from a next-door neighbor who's never called me in 30 years.
And you're not prepared.
I'm not prepared. My father was in denial. He wouldn't even say the A word. He wouldn't even say Alzheimer's. When I would try to talk to him, when I'd come home from vacation, he'd get up from the table, leave the room, and walk out of the house.
And you know, when I was reading about the conversation, it reminded me of the same reticence that your parents had when they felt that it was time to talk to the kids about sex.
Yeah, they didn't.
That same awkwardness, that same sensitivity, and no, they didn't, as our first conversation clearly stated. Jim Comer is here. Fascinating guy with a book, by the way, that is not tinged in sadness. When you're talking about father who had a stroke, loses his father, has a mom with Alzheimer's disease, you've already heard how it is that he approaches that and how she approaches it. But he's also a guy who is given to enough humor that he's written for Bob Hope, Phyllis Diller, and if he looks familiar, it's because of the fact that he was on a number of television game shows. This is the Pat McMahon program. We give no prizes, but we will tell you how to get a copy of this book and meet Jim when we get back, right here on AZTV.
Sugar, take the time, 'cause the lights are shining bright.